Yes? Oh, by the way, this chap here, Khalil. Hello and welcome to all London cab drivers. Black, white, pink, blue, Muslim, Christian, Jew, whoever you may be. Male, female, we're all part and one of the same industry. We all want to see this industry survive. We all live good out of this industry. Okay, now here we are in my school, okay, which I believe that in order to change the whole way the cab trade works now, we have to start from in the schools. Hence, that means teaching the etiquette of the cab trade, customer care, business services, and everything, the cleanliness of the cabs, the whole lot can be done here, which is what I'm about to do now. I'm about to make the place bigger. Once I start that, then that's what will happen here. So we'll have dedicated lessons for etiquette of the cab trade, the unwritten rules of the cab trade. We're going to also have lessons on accountancy. Yes, here will be people under the age of 25 will be taught for nothing, but you will have to pay when you start working. That's how it will work here. And this school is open to each and everyone who wants to learn the knowledge. Okay, so if you need me, you can contact me at Knowledge for You, and we're in Dunbury Street. And if you can hear the noise, by the way, that's my students actually doing their work while I speak to you. Okay, so hopefully we can get through this together. We can make our trade better, but we have to start from the schools and dealing with the existing drivers out there as well. We have to look at everything now, the way we dress, the way we carry our cabs, the way we speak to the passengers. Everything has to change now. We need a revamp. As a matter of fact, we need some PR person out there to come along and set this right for us. Otherwise we will die. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who knows we cannot afford for this trade to die, because it is our lifeline. It is how a lot of us survive. There's nothing else we can do. We can't have another life without this trade. So let's get behind it and start doing what is necessary and what is right for this trade. Thank you. Well, I was just saying here, one of my students, but he's actually too shy to go on the camera, so I will not even mention his name, but he's now finished the knowledge, had his presentation talk today, and this presentation involved giving him an invisible badge, because he didn't get his badge today. So I don't know what kind of presentation this is. He now has to sit at home and wait for his badge to come through the post. This is how trivial TFL has now seen the London cab trade, the greatest cab service on earth. Okay? There's a trivialness that they've taken the cab trade to. That this man now has to sit at his house and wait for his badge to come through the post. This also is a recipe for fraud. Okay? How long before these badges start disappearing in the post? Okay? And obviously we have people at TFL who cannot see the woods from the trees. Okay? And that's my next rant for the day. Okay. This is not the end. This is not even the beginning of the end. But perhaps this is the end of the beginning. Yeah? That's it. Right. Nice one. Now what I want you to do, I want you to introduce yourself, but 1 second, let's just zoom in a little bit. I want you to introduce yourself and tell us how long you've been driving a cab. Yeah. The whole lot? Yeah. Alright. Ready? Yep. Okay. Hi, my name is Courtney Connell. Badge number 55211. I have been driving a London taxi since 1994. I have also been a knowledge examiner, which I have been since 2001 until 2007, where I left. I also run a knowledge school, which I have had since then, which is called Knowledge for You. And I have quite a few number of students. And I am very, very, very passionate about the taxi trade and what happens to it. Because this taxi trade has made a lot of us have a good lifestyle. And when I say good, I don't mean in terms of money, But I mean in terms of the freedom we have to do what we want to do. And there's many of us out here who I don't think would like to go back to a 9-to-5 job. So I'm glad to do these interviews. I'm glad to help out in any way I can, because we have to save this trade. Yeah.
So you want to tell us a little bit about the Knowledge School, where it is, what it's called, and
okay. Right. My Knowledge School is called Knowledge for You. I am situated in 10th Street, off of Brady Street, which is in Bethnal Green. And my school is actually attached to the Dunbridge Taxi Company. Okay? Here we deal with the knowledge. Not only the knowledge, it's teaching students about the history of London. We deal with the etiquette of the cab trade. We're also now about to introduce having the students have at least 1 hour a week accountancy lessons so they know how to run their business. We're also want to introduce a customer care course as well. So the whole lot will be done here, because we need to change the face of the London cab trade and how business is done if we are to survive. And I believe that this should all start from the schools, which I'm about to start doing now.
So how long ago did you sign up to do the Knowledge? How long ago was it you...
Right, I signed up to do the Knowledge in 1990. Believe it or not, I was actually refused on my first application, pardon me, because of the conviction I had for a certain substance. I appealed against it. That was overturned by Scotland Yard, which allowed me to carry on with the Knowledge, which I did, and here I am today, 20 years later.
So how long did it take you to get your badge?
It took me 3 years, 2 months to get my badge, and at the time I was actually told by an examiner that if I had cut my dreadlocks, I would have had my badge a year earlier, which I refused to do at the time. And the examiner actually said to me he was proud of me for not cutting my dreadlocks. So it took me 3 years, 2 months. So I would tell a lot of people, really, you can't watch how long I took to do the Knowledge, you know, because there were other things involved.
So having the dreadlocks, you feel held you back to a certain extent?
Yes, at the time, having my dreadlocks held me back, but it did not hold me back in a bad way. It did not hold me back it did not hold me back that I would now turn around and speak ill of the carriage office, because I thought at the time the discipline of the carriage office is what we need, and I thought what they were doing, they were teaching me certain things in the way that things were done at the carriage office. So I have no problem with what was done to me at the time. As a matter of fact, I endorse it.
So what made you apply to become a Knowledge of London examiner?
Well, the Knowledge London examiner part, I actually applied while it was still under the Metropolitan Police. But I was actually told at the time I would have to give my badge up to become an examiner, which I refused to do. So I waited, and then I think it was around 95, 96, when TfL took over the public carriage office. Then they actually asked for examiners who had an actual green badge. So I applied again then.
So we know you was there for quite some time. It was and you was just doing the Knowledge as any other examiner.
Yeah.
But then they asked you to go and do this special project with the ethnic minorities.
Right. As a matter of fact, for that, in 2006, I remember a company approached the PCO about taking up the Knowledge and funding it for ethnic minority students. I have always disagreed with this, but at the time, the other examiners thought, well, because I lived closest to the place that was doing it, that I should go for it. So I did, which I believe the management at the time were glad it was me that went for it, because they thought, well, yeah, who better? All right. I decided to go and do this. I started the school from scratch. I made the maps. I did everything. And I also was teaching the students. My big problem came with them when a certain young lady came into the place, and I said a certain young white lady, as it goes, whose name happens to be Claire, okay, She came in to find out about the knowledge. I was called into an office and I was told, well, she's not allowed in there. She has to leave. Which I refused to make her leave. I actually said to them, if you want her to leave, you make her leave. But as long as I'm here, she stays. And if you don't like it, you can sack me. Which they said, well, we don't need to be going down that road. I did not go in the next day out of protest. I had a call from the carriage office, the management, who said that the people actually said I was being very negative because I had showed my disgust with what was happening. I remember saying to the management, well, I'm 100% behind the knowledge. I said to them, what I will not help them do is patronize black people, because that was to me what was happening. Because the knowledge is there for everybody. Who wants to do the knowledge? The doors are open. All you have to do is pluck up the courage and go and spend the time doing the knowledge. If people don't want to spend the time doing the knowledge, then that's their problem. But TFL should never have made this look like there was a race problem causing this, which I totally disagreed with. Now, while they got on television and were saying that the public carriage office has no control over how people do the knowledge or things like this, I would sit at home and think to myself, well, so I would think to myself, well, hang on a minute, they're saying these things on television, but I have just bought 25 bikes. I bought the clothing. I did the insurance. This was for the ethnic minority, which I totally disagreed with. But I did this. So after a while, I would even tell them this is not right. You know, people are going to abuse this. And my fears came true when one chap, the bike disappeared. You know, he had 12,000 miles on the bike, yet he had not even done one Blue Book run. You know, this was a farce. Okay? Now, when the time came that everything got into the public domain, I actually gave an interview with the Evening Standard. They didn't like it. So they kept telling me I'm a carriage officer, I should follow the mayor's policies. I won't tell you where I told the mayor to put his policies. But after that, I subsequently resigned from the carriage office because I was not prepared to be used in that way no more. Not over something which I thought everybody have the ability to do. All you have to do is pluck the courage up to do it. Okay? And to this day, I do not believe that TFL management likes me saying certain things. Yeah? I know for a fact the examiners, the knowledge examiners, they're trying to do the job to the best of their ability. But the fact of the matter is, the management of TFL have no idea or concept how the knowledge works or how it's even done on the streets. They've never driven a cab, so they cannot see what is being said. You know, sometimes if they want to know certain things about the cab trade, they have to go to the examiners. So why are these people in the management positions? Okay? They're literally wrecking the greatest cab service on the earth. And we have to put a stop to this. Because if we don't, a lot of us are going to end up doing things we don't like to do. Okay? So it's up to us now to start moving in a certain way. As I said before, changing our whole strategy. We need a whole new PR thing now with the cab trade. Okay? Because as I said, we are the face of London, not the private hire. You know, we're the ones that people take pictures of. Okay? We are the icon of this city, not the private hire. So if we're the icon of this city, we have to act like it. And that especially Heathrow Airport. Okay? Drivers at Heathrow Airport need to know and recognize and understand this. So and we have to think of this thing now so deep, because if you have a businessman who has come to London, he's come to do some business, or a businesswoman, may I add, have come to do some business, and the business they're going to do could give 30 people some work. Okay? But they're only going on a short distance, maybe Hammersmith or maybe Chiswick. But that driver has been sitting in the feeder park for the last 3 hours. So that driver comes down now And because of this, that driver proceeds to now deal with a passenger with a very negative attitude. Hence, the swearing or the hostility they would give to this person. Remember, we are the first port of call when some people come into this country. Yes, we, depending on the things we do, can make or break the economy, depending on how we do it. So, you imagine dealing with that person in such a negative form, that person has now decided, well, if that's the way they are in England, why should I invest my money in England? So now, unconsciously or inadvertently, that driver has just cost 30 people in England somewhere a job because of their negativity. You see, every driver now needs to start thinking, in some terms it's going to sound a bit adverse, but every driver now needs to start thinking of themselves. In other words, your cab is your own little business, your own little corner shop, or your own little sweet shop. So just imagine somebody comes through the door of your sweet shop, and the moment they come through the door, your first words to them is, oh, so what the F do you want then? You wouldn't get very many customers coming into your sweet shop, would you? And before you know it, you won't be able to pay the rent, you won't be able to pay the rates, and before you know it, your business is closed. So don't be naive in the cab and think that this can't happen.
So what you're saying is basically cab drivers need to change their attitude.
Exactly. Cab drivers right now need to change their attitude. And in this instance, I'm saying to cab drivers, think about yourself. As I was saying before, you know, cab drivers now need to think of themselves. Okay? But when, as I said, when you think of yourself, you've also got to think that your actions, or even my actions, reflects on another cab driver. And also, colour has nothing to do with this. Okay, we're just cab drivers.
So what do you think cab drivers can do to improve the image?
Well, now, for cab drivers to improve the image of the cab trade, we all have to start making certain changes within ourselves. That means the way we dress, the cleanliness of our cabs, literally the way we do business. There are some drivers out there who don't want to take credit cards. That's fine. Okay? The choice is yours. But remove those cash-only signs from your cars, from your cabs. Because if we're meant to be an icon of London, these things don't look very nice. They're intimidating. And if you haven't got a machine to take credit cards, why do you really think you need those signs? You don't need it. Also, the drivers like on Verifone, with the Verifone machines, who have the bags covering the machines, these things do not look good. And if we're saying we want to combat what's happening now, we need to step up to the plate. And that involves everything. You know, so drivers who want to do credit cards, do them. Yeah? Everybody is worrying about maybe the tax man or whatever. If you do your things properly, it's not a problem. You know, we all have to pay. Yeah, it is not a problem. So it's up to drivers now to start thinking about their actions, because each and every one of us, our actions reflects on the other.
We know you've been talking about educating knowledge boys.
To be able to come and spend an hour learning how to deal with your business is open to the cab driver also. Yeah, it's not closed to anyone.
So also you was talking about doing customer care courses as well. Would the same apply for that?
And the same applies to the customer care courses as well.
So what you're talking about is not just not educating knowledge boys.
The whole
You're talking about re-educating the whole cab trade.
The whole cab trade. Also, I have a lady who teaches phonics. Okay? Now, as we know, phonics is when an individual cannot pronounce certain words properly. In this trade, communication is a big thing.
It's a lot of speech therapy.
That's right. Yeah. Communications is a big thing. So I already have this lady who, if I get drivers, who knowledge students, who English is not their first language, she will help them with their calling and how to pronounce the words in a proper way. Because if we don't do this, you could find yourself taking a passenger to the wrong destination because of miscommunication.
Definitely.
Okay? So I also have this introduced as well.
He was also saying you're going to try to get the knowledge boys and girls to go in the garage for a couple of hours to learn how to change tyres, check the oil walls and things like that, so they look after the cab better.
That's right. But also in doing that, I have to make sure that the insurance of the garage is able to allow this, because the last thing we want is someone getting injured in one of these garages and they're not covered by the insurance to be in there. That's the law. We don't want to put the garage in jeopardy, but it's something I'm working on, because I think if it's like football, it's like apprentice footballers. They have to clean the boots. Okay? In the end, they end up appreciating the football game they're in. So the same now should go for the cab trade. You know, get the youngster, because if you can do the knowledge from 18 years old, which is what you can legally, right? What I'm saying is, because I intend to teach young people under the age of 25 for nothing, my ask of them is to, and that goes for everybody really, getting them involved in the cabs, appreciate the cabs. That means they will appreciate this trade when they get on the streets. Because there are a lot of people out there now who do not appreciate this trade, yet they have a badge. And my answer to them is, if you don't like this trade, give your badge up and move on to something else. Because as I said, what every cab driver do on the streets of London affects each and every other cab driver. Yeah?
One of the other things you got involved with recently is you've decided to join the group doing the taxi cab app.
Yes.
Well, why did you decide to, when they offered, when they approached you to join the group, why did you decide to join?
The group that's now doing the taxi cab app, when they asked me if I would join it, a couple of reasons really. One, of quite a few of the people that are doing it I've known for years, and I know them to be trustworthy and honourable people. And two, if this is going to work for the cab trade and only the cab trade, then I will back it 110%. Okay? So that's basically, those are the only two reasons I need, because, and I say mostly, the people who are actually doing it, I have a lot of respect for, and I think they're honourable in the cab trade because they've been at this for some time now. Okay? And that's why I'm involved in it, and I will help promote it also in the school, and I will promote it to every student that comes through my door. Okay?
You're also trying to get a group of people together to promote the cab trade as well, aren't you?
Okay, and also as well, oh man, you all are going to think that I'm trying to do so much. How is he going to do this? But you know what? To me, if I have to work until my last breath to get these things done, then so be it. Okay? Because right now, because of what's going on, and I'm not trying to encroach on the unions here. I think we need the unions. It's just that the unions need to be more assertive in what they're doing. They need to start coming together and stop fighting against each other. Okay? Whether it be the RMT, the London Cab Drivers Club, the LTDA, they need to put their differences aside and work under the one umbrella for this trade. Right. This group I'm trying to put together is a group that's a makeup of all the people that are involved in this trade. So that means whether it be white drivers, black drivers, Asian, Hindu, Sikh, Jew, Muslim, you know, the whole lot. Yes, Chinese. I'm saying we need to show the face of this trade, and we need to put together a proper list of the things we see going wrong in this trade and what should be done. I mean, TFL is meant to be our regulating board who do not regulate. Okay? And then something needs to be done about them. And I feel if we show the true face of this trade, all of us acting in a proper manner and doing things properly, carrying ourselves in a proper manner. This is the face we want to put forward now of the London cab trade. Because for too long, there are people that are putting this trade over in a negative way and giving it a wrong impression. And I'm not talking about the cab drivers. Yes, you have got a few negative cab drivers out there, but in this trade, they're the minority. And they can be dealt with. The majority of London cab drivers are decent, hard-working, and very mannerisable people. All we need to do, as I've said before, we have baked the cake. We just need to ice it. Okay? And this group, I'm trying, hopefully, this group, we can show that face and get everybody falling in line as supposed
So it's going to be more of a promotional lobbying group.
Of course, but it's not a group that's trying to form a union. We let the proper unions do that. What we would be looking for is endorsement from the unions. Okay?
So do you think the trade's got a future?
This I may be a minority here, but I always believe the London cab trade has a future. As long as there's a parliament, I believe so. I mean, a classic example the other day, they now says Parliament, Westminster Palace needs refurbishing. They say it's going to take about £4 billion to refurbish it. There are people already complaining, oh, we shouldn't be spending that money, we should be spending on hospitals. We got to remember one thing. Between Parliament and the St. Paul's Cathedral and certain other land, we're talking of over 1,000 years of history here. Democracy, the rule of law that has come down throughout the world from that Parliament. Lots of other parliaments would like to follow it. Right now in America, they're wishing they had a parliamentary system like Britain because of now what's happening in the Middle East. Because they're saying if they had a parliamentary system like Britain, they could have voted a vote of no confidence in Obama and go to the polls. They can't do that in America. He's there for the next 2 years and there he stays, whether people like it or not. So we have a system that even America, the mighty power it is, wish they had. Now, if we're going to allow Parliament, Westminster Palace to dilapidate and fall down, then you can kiss every tradition in this country goodbye. Because that's the biggest tradition there, and people should not even be thinking whether we should use the money to fix this place or not. There shouldn't even be a question. And here now, this should now come down to the building companies in this country who happen to be British and claim that they're patriotic. They should be looking at ways now to help to start rebuild Parliament, and money should not be the object. And the same goes for the cab trade now. This is going back to the days of Oliver Cromwell. Okay? We're talking over 500 years here. The knowledge, we're talking over 300 years, which started at the Crystal Palace when drivers did not know where they were going. Okay? And the knowledge was introduced. This is the greatest form of thing on the streets, anywhere in the world. And believe it or not, if you do the knowledge in London, you can do the knowledge in any other city in the world. Never mind the language. I have done this in Germany, where I learned Hanover in 2 days, studying a German map with German words. Okay? So this is something that can go anywhere in the world and work. And we should make it work here. And it's my belief that this cab trade is here, and it will be here as long as we now change certain things about us. Okay? Because I will repeat it again. We are the face of London, not the private hire. All we have to do is up our game. We have the right vehicles for it. Everything. Drivers who can afford to should look at changing their vehicles. Yes, we got to look at how, as I said, once we look at the cleanliness and the way we carry ourselves and the way we speak to the public, the whole lot, we do this and we will not die. We don't, then look about digging your grave, because that's what will happen.
Now, I filmed you when you had your LBC interview in Trafalgar Square on last Wednesday. And you had your little bit of a Churchill moment, which we've recorded.
Yes.
And we said that we was going to do a little video message once a month.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And put it out on YouTube, because that's got over, the Churchill one's got thousands and thousands of hits so far. So what's your message this month for the cab trade?
Well, as I said, it was Churchill last week. This week it's the Three Musketeers. All for one and one for all. Because we have to look out for each other here, and remember that what one cab driver does reflects on all cab drivers, and what all of us does reflects on each other. Okay? So as long as we do the right thing and go about this the right way, each one of us will help the other. Okay? So where did it not get?
Just start from the Three Musketeers bit.
Okay, right. As I said, it was Churchill last week. This week it's the Three Musketeers. All for one and one for all. Because we have to look out for each other here, And remember that what one cab driver does reflects on all cab drivers. And what all of us does reflects on each other. Okay? So as long as we do the right thing and go about this the right way, each one of us will help the other. Okay? So, I mean, a classic example. There was an incident a couple weeks ago, before the demonstration. I was driving along, traveling eastbound on the Harrow Road. I got just by the exit to go onto the Marylebone flyover. There was an accident with a Vito and an X5 BMW. The X5 BMW had actually run into the back of the Vito. Now, the damage to the Vito, you needed a magnifying glass to see the damage. But I watched that cab driver stood there and he kept holding his neck. Now we know where he's going with this one. The two lady passengers in his cab got out. When they saw my light on and they came to me and they said to me, we do not like the way that cab driver is carrying on, because when the car hit, we didn't have our seatbelts on. Now, they should have had their seatbelts on, but they didn't.